Good morning. Before I even begin my title and subject for today, I want to read the Tut's Adventurers Club message for this morning, which many of you get already. And so with you, it's your name in it, but with me, it's my name. And it says, "Don't be fooled by the players, Ron. And don't be fooled by yourself, because there's no one more lovable than you. And I know everyone. Precious, the universe. The P.S. Ron, there's also no one more loved." And last night, and in the days leading up to this connection that we had for 15 minutes last night, I really felt that. And as I was awaiting the time for 4:44 to get here this morning, and right now even my eyes are tearing up, and I don't know why, because I don't feel that much emotion, and yet my eyes are tearing up. But it was a wonderful experience, and I'm not going to talk a lot about that exactly today, because there's still some decisions I have to make today, and I'm not going to talk about my situation in as much detail as I will at a future time, either tomorrow or in the days ahead. Anyway, the title that I've selected for this morning is Two Visions for 2012, Arthur Cristian and Wood-Brockbrader. My little blurb goes like this. Yesterday I listened to two interviews posted by friends on my Facebook wall. Ben Lowry interviews Arthur Cristian and Bill Wood-Brockbrader with Lisa Harrison. Then this morning I dreamed I was asking directions from a sheriff. How manly. He told me that one way was shorter, though a bit more complicated. The other way had better roads, though I would have to go out of my way, then double back. Then I woke up and meditated on two visions of our possible future. It's interesting because I completed listening to the Arthur Cristian interview by Ben Lowry just prior to the meditation that we all gathered for. I actually went into the meditation room and set that up at about 15 minutes before 7. And it was from 7 to 7:15 that many of us around the world gathered together. And I appreciate every one of you that joined me in that, and even ones that missed the time. The time isn't really as important, although the energy was amazing. And again, I said I will talk about that. But I had just completed listening to Arthur Cristian's story. And one of the highlights, of course, that stood out for me was the fact that the government came in and took us home. And he's living basically on handouts, contributions of people in the community, and allowing him to do the research. And of course, that strikes an emotional chord with me. And as I said, I finished that just before our gathering together last night. And then when I came back to the computer, I ended up watching Bill Brockbrader's interview with Lisa Harrison. And that certainly was more uplifting for me than Arthur Cristian's interview. But there's two visions, and I say for 2012 in the title, but really of our future. And I don't know what the more distant future is. I suspect that possibly Arthur Cristian's vision of tomorrow's, and I put that plural on purpose, may be more in line with what the reality on Earth will be, but I'm not sure of it. One thing about his perception of reality, and that's all any of us have, by the way, folks. I'm not going to tell you that my perception is absolute because I know better. I've had enough absolutes in my life that crumbled to dust to know that when we think we know it all, hang on, because there's going to be some surprises coming ahead that teach us exactly the opposite, that we didn't know what we thought we did. And I think that's going to be true this year more probably than any year in the past with many humans. We're going to realize that much of what we were told was wrong. Much of what we thought was true isn't. And Arthur Christian has a very, to me, a very extreme conspiracy vision or perspective. The most extreme I've ever heard in my whole entire life. I mean, everything, including our language, including our technology, including everything. I mean, he didn't leave anything out. There's only one truth to him, that's nature. One truth, nature. Technology and everything else that we've developed in our evolution is total bunk. It's not real. It has no reality to it. Only nature is real. That was the message that I kept getting through again and again. And what he was asked the question, if I remember right, what holy books or what books do you recommend as being truth? And he pointed out the Ringing Cedars of Russia series with Anastasia, which I've read all 9 of them. And in fact, I had lunch with my college professor friend yesterday afternoon, in which he returned book 1 and I lent him book 2 and 3 to continue reading. And we were talking about Anastasia. So it's interesting that I listened to an interview in the late afternoon, early evening on that very subject, or that touches on that very subject. Now, the one thing I disagree with Anastasia about is the very thing that Arthur Christian agrees with her most about. I mean, she was more in touch with nature than any story of anybody that I've ever known in my whole life, including Arthur Christian's story. And he admits that he compromises himself because he still has to be part of the unnatural society. And again, that's the one area, technology is the one area that I disagree with Anastasia. She basically doesn't think technology is a good thing, that we've got to get back to nature too. But unlike Arthur Christian says we don't own anything. Anastasia says, no, we have our little plot of land. What did she call it? I can't remember. A space of love, but a hectare. Everybody gets this plot of land that is theirs in perpetuity for as long as they want it. It's their family. It's their family home, and they own it. It's theirs. Now, Arthur Christian's thing is there's no ownership of anything. So he's not completely aligned up, and that might be one of the things they said he didn't completely agree with Anastasia. But he agrees with her completely that the technology stuff is not going to be what brings us home. Interestingly, Arthur Christian said that all of the technologies we've developed are natural abilities that as we fully awaken, we're going to have. And I do agree with that. I've heard that before, and that does resonate with me. So I don't see us going back to a completely agrarian society because, as I've said in other videos, there has to be continuity. We have to build a bridge from where we are to where we're going, which is why I still see a world with money for at least a generation or 2 or 3 before we can eliminate and see that we don't really need money. And I do believe that ultimately that's exactly where we're going to be. Money will be seen as the insanity that it has been. It is a method of imprisoning a whole population of beings on a planet. So you have to pay to live on the planet you were born on. I mean, it's absolute insanity. And we will get to that place, but we're not there. And Bill Brockbrader, I was so happy to hear his interview. And even one of my friends who was skeptical with the 3 Project Camelot interviews that she had listened to, she says, after listening to this one, I'm a little more comfortable, although I still am wary of the Messiah complex. Well, that goes back to my video from yesterday, because we are the Messiah. We are the Messiah. It's not just Jesus Christ, like many Christians are trying to tell me. It's not just one person. It's all of us. And that was the message that Jesus gave us that Christians don't want to believe. They don't want to accept that. Hey, Jesus says, I'm just one. If unless I die and get born, planted in the ground and get born again, as many brothers and sisters, I'm going to just be alone. The whole thing is, the things that I do, you shall do also, and greater things than these, because you are like me. Father, that they all may be one in us, that we may all realize our power. And another person wrote about, don't use biblical analogies. Well, that's what I was trained in. I was raised a fundamentalist Christian, for God's sake. Understand that that's where I'm coming from. But I see all of these mythologies as archetypal realities. They are part of our psyche, the human psyche, and even our technology and everything that we've represented, as Arthur Christian kept going, we're representing something. Instead of just presenting it, we're representing it, which makes it a fiction, which makes it a lie. Well, it's an evolution, for God's sake. We fell into the state of forgetting that we were one, of being separate from our father, from our home, from our mother, from our family, from our roots. We became separate from that. Taking our inheritance and going into the far country, we became separated from our good, if you will. And we're allowed to develop and explore the dark side of things. We've done a good job. And are on our way back, we have developed technologies. And the technologies are good. And even Arthur Christian says that even though it's ultimately bad, that the internet right now is serving a useful purpose. Indeed it is. It was created by the dark to control people and to know what people are doing, but it's been used by the light to awaken more and more people around the globe, and it's worked wonders. And Bill Brockbrader, I mean, the thing that impressed me from the very first interview, and he did point out some of the things that I'm feeling. Project Camelot, Carrie Cassidy tends to want to control and direct where things are going. She's not free enough yet to allow things to flow. And that's where she is. It's an observation. I don't mean to criticize her, because I appreciate what Project Camelot does. But it came out in the interview with Lisa Harrison that there were some friction going on before that interview. And even David Wilcock got involved in that. But from the very first interview, when it was just Bill Wood and Carrie Cassidy, from that very first one, he revealed things about himself that made him extremely vulnerable. That, and more than any other thing, resonated with me. The guy's willing to be vulnerable. The guy's willing to tell truth about himself that other people will judge him for. That gets high marks for integrity. High marks. And in fact, when I was in my telephone call the day before yesterday with Bill Martinez, was it? He said one of the things that impressed him about me is I'm willing to tell or share my weakness, which he says, or I don't remember exactly how he put it, which is very rare. People aren't willing to do that publicly. Well, that's what Bill Wood did in that first interview, which impressed me, and it was hit upon again in the interview with Lisa Harrison, which was a better interview than any of the 3 Project Camelot ones, because I think he was given more freedom to be himself, which is why one of my friends who had heretofore had very serious reservations about him and was tending to believe the disinformation put out by the powers that be, saying that he wasn't a Navy SEAL and then trying to debunk the whole thing. She was swayed, and others, I think, were, if they listen to the Lisa Harrison interview, will see that he's more real because he's not under so many restrictions that apparently he was under when he was doing the Project Camelot interviews. Anyway, his vision of the rapidity in which things are going to be unfolding and transpiring, it's months. That's what I've been feeling. That's what I've been feeling. I was feeling it last year, and I was feeling it was months then, and that it would happen in 2011. Yes, that's true. You can go back and listen to some of my early videos. That's true. But it's more true now. It's more true now as these 2 visions, the 2011 and the 2012 vision, merge together. I think the Arthur Christensen and Bill Brockbrader visions have to merge because, folks, we have to build the continuity. We can't make the jump. And somebody again yesterday quit again because of the ads that are on my videos. I got less than $1 a day for all last year as a result of the advertisements. Now I expect that will go up in 2012. I do. But I'm not going to get rich off of it, folks, and I do deserve to get something. And I'm not forcing anybody to do anything. I'm not giving anybody instructions. But I'm just saying that is a way that I can have a trickle flow of income coming in because we still need money. We still need technology because we haven't fully awakened. Recognize where we are and allow the process to continue. Allow the process to work in you and transform you and me and all of us because we're going somewhere with this. And Bill Wood, Bill Brockbrader, he sees the vision, and to me it's so credible. It so resonates with what I'm feeling, with what I'm sensing, and with what I hope to be sharing with you to encourage you that, look, things are happening. Even when you don't see it the way that you'd like to see it, things are still happening and they're moving very quickly. And if there's any message that I can draw this to a conclusion with, it's that. Things are moving very, very quickly. We're in an acceleration mode that is unstoppable. And that's why Bill Brockbrader, that's why what he shares so inspires me. And I need to be inspired too, and especially with what I've been going through. I need that inspiration. So maybe watching Arthur Christian's thing where he lost his home just before I go into the meditation with you all last night, the meditation and prayer, maybe that wasn't the best thing to watch, but everything brings up what needs to be brought up because this is an initiation that we're going through. And it is an accelerated initiation. I leave you with these for today. Thank you again for listening, and namaste.